Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my full and sincere support to the budget address presented by Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, the Minister of Finance, and to say that I am very honored to follow in the footsteps of my colleague, the Senator Edwards, Kent Edwards. And that's why I stood earlier on after his presentation, because I was so motivated. And he has become a dear friend, and over the short period that we have known each other. But there are reasons why, Mr. Speaker, I have bring a lot of beijing for him. That is barracuda, which is one of his favorite fish. Um, Mr. Speaker, reflecting um, on the words that you said earlier on the purpose of the budget and members' responsibility, I felt almost that after these words, perhaps I should not speak because um, you said that members have to respond to the addresses given by the Honorable Minister of Finance, and then there is a response, and members of the House following that are free to rebut. But I heard really nothing that I could rebut to, Honorable Speaker. So my words may be few this time around, but I do have some clarification to make in terms of fact. And he told me, don't say this time, leave him alone, but the Honorable member from Marigot mentioned that and he went on speaking about Marigot Fisheries Complex becoming a port of entry, and it has already been gazetted, I think it's still in law and those sort of things, and it has not been implemented. But I just wish to educate him and the listeners on a point of clarification that Marigot has never been gazetted or demarcated as a port of entry. Perhaps there may have been thoughts of it and preliminary discussions to that effect, but it is not designated by law a legal point of entry. So this is one of the clarification I would like to make. And the second being is really not a clarification by the Honorable Senator Laurie from Salisbury about the financing and World Bank and where we get most of our financing from. And she mentioned this thing, but just to say again, and I mentioned in previous forums, I'm not sure if it's Parliament before, that the reason that the country is able to attract financing from these prestigious financial institutions is because of its firm record and confidence that the bank and institution have in its ability to pay. So be it the Caribbean Development Bank, be it the CARICOM Fund, be it the IMF, it's because of the strong confidence in the ability to repay. And just to bring about the whole talk of debt to GDP ratio, which comes on time and time again, which is really not a justification or measure. We have one of the four most developed countries in the world, and I will give by example, Mr. Speaker, which is Japan. Japan's debt to GDP ratio is 217% as we speak, and it is known as always one of the most developed countries in the world, advanced technology, the fourth, I think by now, fourth largest. It has dropped several notches along the years, but I believe it is by now still the fourth largest economy in the world. So really and truly, debt GDP ratio figure, while yes, it is important to bring it down as much as possible, but it does not paint the entire picture of your economic ability or your prospects for further development. So just wanted to clarify a few of these things. Otherwise, as I said, there was nothing much to rebut. So, I cannot rebut what the Honorable Dr. McIntyre has presented, because as Honorable Ken alluded to, this was really a concerted effort by all members of the Dominican society, the Dominican industry and commerce, all sectors of the manufacturers, farmers, everybody contributed, technicians from the Ministry of Finance, all manner of the society contributed, and the OWN's cabinet image for development bear onto what was presented by them. So it was a holistic approach, and it is from this side. So really and truly, if I have to say something, it is just in support and really nothing to rebut. But I will really want to speak about some of the key national projects first to begin with. just pay lip service to it, because many members before have done so. But because of the importance and the significance, I must touch on it. Mr. Speaker, growing up, I listened to budgets a long time. From since I was a young boy, I've very been involved in politics and listened to budgets. And I remember listening to budgets of $350 million, 300 million. I really remember that vividly. And today, to be part of a cabinet where billion, 1 billion, $1.6 billion is the national budget, I mean, that is a tremendous transformation. I'm talking about transformation in just about 3 decades, 2 decades, especially when in time when the Labour Party government came into office. And a budget, and I heard the discussion even on the side going and trying to define a budget. Mr. Speaker, I don't know, I want to go into technical terms, but if you're a family man and if you have a household, I am sure you have a pretty good understanding of what a budget is and entails. It is when we have a projection of your expenses, and also you indicate in those projections where you expect money to come from. And with this budget, it was clearly articulated in every line item where is the source of revenue for these expenditures, be it grants, be it loan, or be it revenues raised from the government of Dominica itself through its taxes and so on. So these things were very clear. So I do not want to overcomplicate what is a budget. But coming back to, Mr. Speaker, the core capital projects. And even myself, as a member of cabinet and a member of parliament, even wonder. I say, boy, wow, this is very ambitious. And sometimes you get a little doubt in Thomas in you. But at the end of the day, I persevere over that because I always reflect on the words of the leader of the party and the Honorable Prime Minister, that leaders lead. And I think to myself, there are countries which has embarked on such ambitious journeys in whatever field or sector. And I'm also a good student of history, not learned in any university, but self-taught, because I have interest in these things, again, from a very early age. And you would expect from a constitution to be dealing with that, because the thing is only in series to bathe. But I had a lot of other interests, Mr. Speaker. It's just that I got opportunities very late, to really divulge into the academic world and to achieve what I've achieved in quick time. And the best, and usually I don't like to quote leaders and speakers, because it's different. When people quote right things for their own self, sometimes there's a specific context that we don't have, but we just understand the words, but we do not know what was the thinking behind the words. But the person I want to reflect on there, I believe these words are pretty much in line with the development agenda for a dynamic Dominica, and which is showcased in the budget as we speak. And we're talking about an international airport, the cable car, the geothermal plant, the cruise ship terminal, the new modern cargo port, and others. And I said to myself, which country? So I said, let me use the country that most people like to refer to, compare Dominica to, compare the services to, compare everything to, and see where they were and what they have done. And what came to me, and I had to search for it, these are things that are always in my head. It came to me, the John F. Kennedy speech in 1962, Mr. Speaker. And this is at a time when the US and USSR at the time were a race to reach to the moon, spending hundreds of millions of dollars at that time and billions of dollars at that time. At that time when both themselves were on a development path and their people needed housing and so on and so forth. But they were spending that sort of money in just trying to land to the moon. And this is justification that John F. Kennedy gave for the ambition that was driving the US, which I feel is very pertinent to what the Honorable Prime Minister is doing and the cabinet of today is doing, Mr. Speaker. And it says, we choose to go to the moon, and I quote, in this decade, and to do other things. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. And to do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and others too, Mr. Speaker. And I found that quote very much fitting with the ambition that we have. All of these major projects, unparalleled, unprecedented in scale and cost, all at the same time. So I say all this to say that I am privileged to be a member of this cabinet, to take on this challenge. And it reflects to me, Boy Defoe, why were you brought here? People talk about difficult times. And it is, as Honorable the member from Grand Bay indicate, we do not cherry coat anything. I walk on the streets, and people tell you how it is, and I discuss with them. I sit with them. I say to them that I understand, okay? I understand, and I try to find pathways to help them. What is it that you're doing wrong? How is it that you can readjust your life? What is it I can do for you? Instead of giving you some money, can I pay some extra subjects for you at BTC so that you may elevate from cleanup and beautification to a higher position at the ministry, Mr. Speaker? So these are the kind of things that I do, okay? Understand, and it's not just saying, people there and they're not getting paid. In any society, you are paid at the level of which you have the academic qualifications for. And this is why this government has tried and has done and tested and continue to do, elevate people, elevate them in terms of their human resource capacity. Because in any nation of the world, if you do not have the necessary skills and education, Mr. Speaker, you will only attract a certain level of job. And then the next thing is we may create this enabling environment for you, but it is up to you, Mr. Speaker, to take them on. And they are endless, as has mentioned by the Honorable Minister of Education and honorable members of this House previous to me, all of the opportunities that exist. So I want to say on to these things, Mr. Speaker. So the international airport, over $1 billion in cost, should be completed by the year 2027, at the end of 2027. The cable car, which the Honorable Dr. David McIntyre spoke to in the Valley, there are two major projects going on, highly paid individuals. I'm very fortunate to have persons from my constituency coming from Fonseca every day, Mr. Speaker, going to the Valley. And you know what the fella tell me? He hopes that project never ends. So, Dr. Mark, I will keep a close eye on him, but I don't want him to jeopardize anything up there in order to prolong the project. But the salary is wonderful. The service that is they provide them, they pick them up all the way in Roseau, take them there, they give them food. So he returns even a lot of his salary because he doesn't have to pay for food, and he's brought back to town and so on. So I have a number of people there. And again, as you said, in every society, perhaps there is no one in the Valley who is unemployed. No one in the Valley who is unemployed. And the thing is with me, I enjoy the success of another member of Parliament. I am not about Roseau Valley have everything now, because this is just the budget for 2024, 2025, Mr. Speaker. As the Prime Minister alluded to, the notion that all of these big ticket items people are seeing at that election is going to call tomorrow. And he has made it clear in his press conference that we have work to do. So perhaps in 2026, 2027, it will be me, and with my major ticket items, and this time is Roseau, and another time might be Cottage, and that's how I see things. So coming back to the budget and how I educate my constituents, Mr. Speaker, is that the budget is a strategic plan. It is not a constituency plan. So be patient. Do not be detracted by what people say, oh, your constituency haven't got nothing in the budget this time. Your time will come. Our time will come. We have a plan. It will all come together. As you notice, significant emphasis on the city of Roseau. And if I had to vote again, that to be put the half of the budget in the city of Roseau, to get all of that to be done right away, that we have been trying to do for the past 2 decades, perhaps I would, Mr. Speaker. So I say that to lend my support to the different components in the budget, and it is not it's not a competition among us. It is strategic. You can see the timeline. You can see how the timelines are playing in. Some end in 2026, some end in 2027, some starting next year. And as the Prime Minister noted in the beginning, that these capital projects all have a timeline. And more we go into the financial year, you will see the capital estimates coming down so that we can reduce on the deficit and then go into a surplus. So this is the overall vision of the budget, and it's strategic. So many of us say we look at the book. That is not a 2025. There is a projection past 2024, 2025. And that's how you plan. So most times the budget, it's not most times, the budget is planned with a 3-year cycle. But we just happen to be dealing with 2024, 2025. So, Mr. Speaker, endless has been said about the cable car, international airport, its importance and relevance, and I will make other linkages to it as I go along. Of course, the reduced cost of electricity will no doubt reduce the cost of any kind of business, be it manufacturing, be it is a bar you have, be it is a restaurant, be it my own personal home. My electricity bill is high, Mr. Speaker. I would like to see it go down. And I am assured by the investments that Dominica has put in through its own efforts and in the partnership we have entered with Omar Technologies that we will realize it. And the honorable member for the Grand Bay constituency has alluded to major components already being delivered on site. How many of them? He said all the way in 20-something tons. So this is not, no countries make a joke like that, as if that is a gimmick, a plan, because you still hear these things in the public, Mr. Speaker, as if like they cannot believe it. It is still some sort of joke to carry all of this equipment all the way from Israel, where there is so much conflict now, to a plant to a site without the intention of completing the project. Mr. Speaker, I move to the next major capital project of the country announced recently, which is the marina in Portsmouth, the Cabrits Marina, from the constituency of Honorable Roland Rouet. And a man that I'm very happy with, I'm very happy for, and the Honorable Wenham also from Portsmouth, they will share this important milestone. But there are many benefits to just the infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, and I can make many linkages that will turn into a web of how the benefit spreads around. Because a lot of times I see beyond the infrastructure, I see the opportunities from this sort of investment. And as you know, being the Minister responsible for the economy and my previous occupation before, I interact a lot of people in the maritime sphere, and I know how important a marina is. I know so many wealthy people who have to pack their super yachts and the mega yachts in St. Martin, in Guadeloupe, and in other ports, and have to take a smaller plane or something to come to Dominica. And now we have the opportunity that they can come and dock there, get the services. Not only that, jobs at a marina are not your typical jobs, Mr. Speaker. Most of the people there are very highly skilled. And we have a lot of people from, I know personally, from the Portsmouth community and the north, who have these skills. But they work in Guadeloupe, they work in St. Martin, and in other destinations. And I have heard from these people that saying, once this marina is complete, they are returning home. They are returning home to give their services, to earn a decent living in their own country, so that if their granny is sick, they can easily go and arrive and see them. They haven't got to call and send box and those kind of things, and support the local economy. And so these are the benefits among many others, Mr. Speaker, that this sort of project will derive. Going down the road to the cargo port, I mean, it is a no-brainer, Mr. Speaker. Most of us have seen, and climate change, I will come to climate change, but most of us have seen what has happened last year. Unusual weather events. Usually we have, during the winter season in North America, what we call the novas, and which brings swells down to the Caribbean, and you get it, January, February, and so on. And then by March, you're back to normal. But we saw for continuous 4 or 5 months of very strong swells, preventing the boats from docking. Even when the boats are able to dock, preventing the dock workers from operating in a safe environment. And hence, a lot of the time, the ship have to return with our cargo on board and people are going to a lot of noise. But, Mr. Speaker, this is the kind of things these sorts of project is trying to eliminate. Because as we become more developed, our people have become so accustomed to having everything in a convenient way, Mr. Speaker. So we can no longer be in an age where our people are inconvenient because we are so backward in our technology and facilities at the port, that entire people containers have to go back. This is things that a government is supposed to solve, and this is something that this Labour Party-led government is going to solve once and for all with this modern cargo port, Mr. Speaker. In addition to that, in the parallel area, well, lower down in Canefield, so this is where the modern port will be, we have heard about the development of a cruise village. And it is deliberately called a cruise village, Mr. Speaker, because this is what it is intended to be. It is not just a port. It is all the services, all the amenities, the duty-free, the shopping, the space, the aesthetic, the environment that you will create for the increasing number of cruise ships which are knocking the doors of the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Dennis Pemberton, that they are willing and ready to come to Dominica, especially making the linkage, the direct linkage to the construction and the end period of the cable car, Mr. Speaker, going all the way to the Borden Lake. And I heard a member said, I think Mr. Honorable Peanut from Polyho, that perhaps for the first time he will go to the Borden Lake. And I am not ashamed to say, Mr. Speaker, that perhaps he and I will be the first time that we go to the Borden Lake on three of us on that cable car, Mr. Speaker. So, all of us have spoke about it, but this has to be the core. This has to be the pillar. This has to be the agenda. I know, yes, our constituents want many things, but development is long-term. Development is long-term. And sometimes there is a point in the period of this administration that it has to make the hard and firm decision that we are once and for all going to achieve this. Yes, the toilets have been wonderful. A lot of the paved roads have been wonderful. A lot of the support has been wonderful. We will continue to do so. But there is a time when we have to speak to our constituents. We have to speak to our people and say, I love your government who has taken care of you so well for the past 24 years to accomplish these goals. And these goals, when they are completed, will bring everything back to you. It will all come back. We'll pave by the sea, Mr. Speaker. We'll pave everybody's doorway with concrete. And we will get everything that they were used to. But, Mr. Speaker, in doing so, there is one thing that we have decided that we will not touch. And we will never, ever, as long as this government is in power, do anything to remove any of the social programs that this government is known for, Mr. Speaker. We will never remove the Yes We Care, Mr. Speaker. And the Prime Minister is a genius at finding means and resources, and if it means that he will find it, he will find it, and he has given his commitment to that. We will never remove caregivers from people who before had the level of, to suffer a level of indignity in their life because they did not have someone to take care of them, or they did not achieve the appropriate means in their life, for whatever reason it may be. But there are various reasons, Minister. It's not every time that, Mr. Speaker, it's not every time that the reason is because somebody did not work properly in their life. Sometimes bad choices, yes, but sometimes there are other circumstances, illnesses that contribute to the level of lifestyle somebody may have in their older time. And they need the care so that they can live, they have a level of dignity in their life. There are many individuals who have not had the opportunity to have a job where they may have to contribute to Social Security, Mr. Speaker. So they would work until a certain age, even 65 and 70, but as soon as that stops, then they have nothing to rely on. So because most times their salary may just be adequate for their daily lives or for the month. And how are they going to pay the electricity? And that is what this government has recognized, and even have gone further to reduce the social offering down up from 75 years, Mr. Speaker, to 65 years of age. Just again, it's not because the Labour Party wants to win elections. It's because it is a party that genuinely cares about people. And that is well known for 20-something years, and that was well known of the Labour Party who has come into power into Dominica before. We are socialists, Mr. Speaker. We are empathetic, and we care about others. Mr. Speaker, there are other things that are done socially that may not necessarily be part of a program. Some of it may be sporadic. Some of it are done perhaps by the party itself and not even government. Housing, other basic amenities that sometimes cannot even be covered within the government system. And we have to find means and ways to provide this assistance to people. And I say, and perhaps I don't know, I cannot know everybody's heart. But as for me, empathy is natural to me, Mr. Speaker. If you do not put yourself in people's shoes, if you do not understand how people feel, then you will never be able to react accordingly, and especially if you do not know where you're from. Mr. Speaker, as a matter of example, this morning, the average politician may be upset to find somebody at their door after 6. This is a usual occurrence for me, Mr. Speaker. And this morning after 6, this gentleman is at my door. And I think my wife can call. There's no hotline here. It's Parliament to testify to that. And he came with his medical bill from the hospital for medicine. And I wasn't angry, Mr. Speaker. After 6, I welcomed him, took the bill. I told him I will ensure that your medicine get to you today. I was in Parliament, so I ensured that my wife did. She had to help me, Mr. Speaker. I ensured that my wife got the medicine. And I told him, how can I help you? Had you cold milk? I didn't have coffee yet, but I made him a cup of chocolate, Mr. Speaker, and a mastiff. And I put more peanut butter in it than ever, not for I put for my son, or for my daughter. I make sure the bread couldn't close the amount of peanut butter and everything like that. You understand? And this is just normal for me, Mr. Speaker. And I do tons. I don't want that on Facebook. I don't want on social media. Let the people's conscience be their guide. And that is why when I pass in my constituency from Bellevue to it's hard for me to reach home. Because everybody's pal rep, Mr. Speaker. You understand? Just to talk. And that is what I want to bring as the qualities of the people who are engaged in this party. So, Mr. Speaker, moving forward, as I said, there are many things in the budget. But I want to give a personal attention and support to just perhaps 2 of these items. And one within my own ministry, which is the agriculture mission, to attain a GDP contribution of 700 million on an annual basis by 2030. Okay? And this is our ultimate objective. This is what we eat and breathe at the Ministry of Agriculture in all of our sectors: fisheries, agriculture, livestock. And the second major one being, Mr. Speaker, the ministry which is held by the honorable member from the Michelle, Honorable Pemberton. The Ministry of Tourism is very dear to my heart. Because again, it is not of selfishness. It is recognizing and sitting realizing what are the 2 pillars that is really going to push us to where we need to be. And that is going to give us everything that we aspire for. And that is going to create the foundation for the hundreds of students the state has paid for and sent to Grambling, Midwestern, UE, because you hear the criticisms, oh yes, first of all they come to you to send them. Then you send them free of charge, at no cost. Mr. Speaker, I don't know when I'll finish the NCCU for mine. And after you send them free of cost, then they base the government rate of how you don't give them a job after they come back. Okay? So I'm saying all this to say we are creating all of these things. And you would know the kind of job that comes with running an international airport. So I hope that they are getting themselves. Those of them who have learned certain things, I hope that they relearn. So there are tons of millions of people doing business administration. Perhaps you don't need all of it, because you heard what I needed for the international airport. You need engineers. You need engineers. You need mechanical engineers. You need aviators. You need people that wave in the plane and all those kind of things. You need people in the tower. There are a lot of high skills. And the very same thing comes with a port, Mr. Speaker, specialized skills. The very same thing comes with a marina operating of the cable car. The people are not going to come from Austria and go and train the cable car. We need to train our people. So if you notice, each of these core pillars, tremendous numbers of highly skilled, specialized jobs. So people need to just retrain themselves. And those who are going now, choose an appropriate academic area or skill area or vocational area, whichever area that you will work in, so that you can attract an appropriate job when all in 2 or 3 years' time, Mr. Speaker. So these 2 areas are the 2 pillars that I really want to give my full support and recognize. And in agriculture, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Roy, member for Cottage constituency, in his usual way, clearly articulated both the vision and the achievements of the Ministry of Agriculture from last year's budget and looking forward in this year's budget, and the achievement, and not just achievement by word, Mr. Speaker, articulated technically and analytically with data and information, which I believe in this house today is irrefutable. And I'm waiting to hear these things on social media. I'm waiting to people come. Yeah. And I'm looking for people to attack these numbers, because these numbers are real. They exist. They were done. They were executed, Mr. Speaker. So I'm not going to go much into what he said. But of course, how can you not mention that an 11-point-something million modern tissue culture lab in Portsmouth donated by the People's Republic of China, Mr. Speaker, which is going to be groundbreaking for what we're trying to achieve, the production of 500,000 clean planting material, disease-free, going forward for our farmers, be it banana, be it plantains, and the technology allows for an array of different types of crops. And have you heard now a seed bank? People hear about all different kind of banks. Sometimes hear every bank. Many they are among their offshore banks, but Dominica now is proud to own a seed bank. And not just a seed bank for ourselves, but you have heard the honorable member for Cottage say that we are going to share this seed bank with our fellow members of the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, the UCS, Mr. Speaker, that they themselves we will keep their seeds for them. So we are Reserve Bank, Mr. Speaker, Central Reserve, the Bank of the World for the seeds. I believe the greatest collection of seeds, if I am not mistaken, I think is in London. And we're going to try to rival London and store everybody's seeds. So that is the resilient aspect of it. And in terms of anything, because you know about climate change. When there's an apocalypse, if climate change turns out to be something that is way beyond our level to adapt, then whichever future generation that we have, we'll have seeds, we'll have corn, we'll have celery, we'll have parsley, we'll have melon, we'll have jackfruit, we'll have breadfruit, we'll have banana, everything else to plant. So I just want to emphasize on the importance, because many things just, and the next thing is the appreciation of these facilities. Because they are built by the People's Republic of China, and because they are, in some way, we are being assisted by the Chinese mission, that we forget these things are our own, Mr. Speaker. If we forget this thing and we go by the Chinese, and we're going to go by the Chinese. Go by the agricultural station in Portsmouth of the Ministry of Agriculture, where we are being assisted by the Chinese mission. It's not go by the Chinese. Okay? And we have to own things. We have to own things, and the very same thing, and as I mentioned that, because I must mention about, I still hear people talking about World Bank house, and World Bank boat, and World Bank this. These are monies loaned from a lending institution called the World Bank, contracted by the government of Dominica to be repaid at highly concessionary rate. Very beautiful rate, as a matter of fact, I say, but if I ever had a mortgage like that, I see 3/4 of 1% and those sort of things. But these are the kind of things this government have the ability to negotiate, Mr. Speaker. Less than 1%. Where in the world? And I look up, I just see no other countries getting those kind of things the Honorable PM can negotiate. And the team from the Ministry of Finance are back in time. So I just put that little part in. Mr. Speaker, as I said, Honorable Roy was well versed and articulate in the agriculture sector. But I will go to some area that have salt. I know, Honorable Member from Vacars is a stalwart and steadfast advocate fighting against NCDs. But this is one little area I will beg his indulgence, which will take me time to catch up. Because I like the salt a little bit. Salt, salty things, you know? So it will take me a little time, Honorable Member for Cottage, to get there. The sugar I'm working on. Earlier on, the Honorable Dr. Catherine told me, use honey. And I've been following it because she sits by me in cabinet. So I get a lot of free medical advice. A lot of but the salt, it will take me a little time, but I will get there, Mr. Speaker. Again, I love salted things. As you have seen, major linkages, and it makes my job easy, because you have seen the major development, and the blue economy is not just the marine space. Anything that leads to the marine space is because the marine space exists. That is why Mr. Capitole have decided to build Ocean Edge where it is. It is not because he just likes that piece of land, you know. Because that's why he have a jetty. And he expects to get significant revenue from the marine space, because they want to see the marine space. They want to have his tours. They want yachts to come there. And that is why you have the Hilton. That is why you have position there. So not because they're not in the city, they're not mine. They're all mine. I claim it. And the investment from under the Ministry of Opium, I claim it too, the marina, Mr. Speaker. Once it has a salty aspect to it, it is under the Ministry of Blue Economy. And so far, we're going down south. Again, another area dear to my heart. In my former job, I worked very hard for the promotion of Champagne and in establishing and working the Soufrières Croisades Marine Reserve, Mr. Speaker. And today, I am very happy. And that is what collaboration is, and linkages and intersectoral linkages within the ministry, that we strategize. We do not compete and say, well, this is my thing. I'm happy that she could find the necessary funding, wherever she got it from, to make that facility happen in Champagne, and modern reception facilities with all of the necessary amenities, because Champagne is a very popular tourist site where people go to bathe in the bubbles, which are volcanic vents, stemming from the sea, and the water is unusually very warm, again, because of these volcanic vents. And that people can go in a facility.
20 more minutes.
People can go in a facility, Mr. Speaker. My colleagues do not leave me down, Mr. Speaker. That I'm sure of, when the time comes. So they can go in a facility where, they can enjoy local meals prepared by operators from Point Michel or elsewhere in the constituency. I'm sure the operators there, she will ensure, does not come from outside of the constituency. Because we have seen the example of Mr. Grant, which most members are learning from, Honorable Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that, as he said, all the jobs for the airport is his. So, I mean, I would not be mad at Mrs. Pemberton that if the jobs in the reception facility, if the caterers there are from her constituency, Mr. Speaker. But just to say that, and this project is not just a proclamation, but the contract has been signed. There was a groundbreaking ceremony. The funding is here, and the work is going ahead. And by next year, we'll have access to this facility so that our guests coming to this area um, generating significant revenue. And also that this area is very critical for the survival and the self-sufficiency of the Sufrias Kotzed Marine Reserve, because this is where most of the user fees are collected, Mr. Speaker. So this is just making linkages to the number of projects that we have that have significant bearing on the blue economy. And I always like to do something for those of us who are viewers, because this is Parliament, we have a lot of people viewing online that do not really understand. And very simply say, the use of the marine environment for the sustainable development of one's country. And I use the word sustainable because it's all about making money. Because there is a misconception that it is about preservation without use and just to look at. No, Mr. Speaker, we have a lot of people to take care of. We have bills to pay. So we are a resilient country. We care about the environment and the ecosystem, but we have to use it. We have to leverage it so that we can raise the necessary revenue so that we can pay for all of these things. And you heard Honorable Ken talk about the hospital and the cost and the MRI and so on. How else can we pay for these things if the country does not generate the appropriate revenue from the resources that we have, both natural and otherwise, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, the fisheries sector continues to rebound tremendously, beautifully, and satisfactorily from post-Hurricane Maria. And our Roy said, just as you had an agriculture industry at ground zero, we had a fisheries sector at ground zero. And I've been working very hard, and will continue to highlight the significance of the importance of this sector, to remove the notion that people still have and the affinity that they have to these beautiful paintings. And they are beautiful indeed, with old men, with straw hats, with torn pants, and dirty shirts, selling balau. I love balau, but that is not the message. The message is now that a fisherman with his Nissan front air parked on the bay, his boat is out, he has a beautiful boat, he has twin engines, four-stroke engines to reduce emissions for climate change purposes and increase its efficiency in terms of fuel consumption. And that is the image that we want, Mr. Speaker, now. And these individuals can send their children to university and afford it and go and fool their trolleys, Mr. Speaker. This is the image of the fishermen that we now have today. And this did not come overnight, Mr. Speaker. As you notice, to get to that level, significant infrastructural development had to be done. And during this time of this administration in power, we had to speak to our bilateral partners and put this infrastructure on the ground. So as you have said, in terms of major infrastructure, we had roads okay in the 90s. But then again, this was not enough, because there is a strategic plan to have a major facility in every corner of the country: the north, the south, the east, the west. We have achieved 3 out of 4. We are missing one in the south. And we are working to do so with our bilateral partners. And with God's good grace, they'll have to be this fiscal year. It may not be the second one, but we will get there, Mr. Speaker, because these capital investments are very costly and expensive to construct. So we are looking to do it with grant funding for partners who are able to facilitate this sort of investment for us through grants as much as possible, Mr. Speaker, to reduce the burden of payment on our citizens. Mr. Speaker, so as I mentioned, that fisheries has rebounded from more than 70% loss after Hurricane Maria to now we are back now at pre-Maria levels, averaging about 1,000 tons landing in 2023. We have not established 2024 yet. And we had an increase in our export capacity, in our physical export. We exported a little more than 16 tons, Mr. Speaker, almost $500,000 in terms of revenue. And this is money coming into the country. And this is not even very far, Mr. Speaker. Most of our trading partners like St. Martin, St. Kitts, and Montserrat, we send fish to. But we are creating the groundwork so that we're going to go much further afield. Mr. Speaker, in terms of private investment and PPPs, public-private partnerships. So at the moment, as I speak, Mr. Speaker, we are in partnership with a partner whom we are working with at the Portsmouth Fisheries Facility, and an individual or a locally registered company that has affiliations to international fish trading partners. And the focus is on exports of fish. So this company will have nothing to do with competing with our local fishers, Mr. Speaker. This company is strictly going to focus on high level and high value export to the United States market. And I was thinking, boy, because we were thinking of alternative routes of how to get the fish out. Take it on a boat, send it to Antigua, and then fly it out. And then a miracle happened, Mr. Speaker. And that miracle is the extension of the Douglas Charles Airport, Mr. Speaker. Because what we needed cargo space. So the American would come, yes, but we needed more flights to come that perhaps would give us the cargo space to take sufficient quantity of fish to the US market. So the investor is very, very happy and encouraged by the possibility of additional direct flights to the US market. Because this fish is being sold fresh, Mr. Speaker. It is landed today in Dominica. Today is what? Today is Wednesday. And by Friday, if you take a flight to New York or to Miami, you should be able to eat Dominican tuna. And the thing is, you would say, but can we compete? But the beauty of our marketing, Mr. Speaker, we're not just selling tuna. Because we may not be able to compete with the Asian and the Pacific countries with high volumes because they have very big ships. But we are selling a tuna with a story. It is caught sustainably by a fisher with a small boat, having zero to little to no impact on the environment in terms of his emission, of the type of boat that he has. So this fish, Mr. Speaker, is being sold with a story. So we have ambitions there, Mr. Speaker. We have investment, and I should say further as we speak, the gentleman's first container of packaging materials arrived, and he has been trying to clear it, Mr. Speaker. Hundreds of boxes to pack large tunas to send out. And as you know, for the past 3 weeks, there have been a bumper production of tuna by our fishers, Mr. Speaker. It has put some of our services under heavy pressure, I must admit, in terms of our ice production, but we are putting things in place. I can assure you, very tangible things. Time will not permit me to say all of the things that we are doing to address this issue and to ensure that by the next cycle of when the tuna turns around several times per year. It's not that you're going to have a bumper catch for these few weeks and it's not going to come again. But we're going to ready ourselves when it comes again. And again, I'm saying that to say that I take responsibility, Mr. Speaker. As the minister responsible for fisheries, if something goes wrong, if something is not right, if something is not going to work, I take responsibility. I don't know why to say something about the Prime Minister, oh, he should have raised it. Call my name, say it's me that do it, say it's me that did not prepare. I take full responsibility for the job entrusted to me, and that every weakness I will build upon. I will take advice. I will fill every gap from every time it comes out, because that is life. Life is a progression, and you work on the weaknesses as you go on. So it is not perfect, Mr. Speaker. And that is why my fisheries industry, no matter what they go through, when they hear my word and I tell them something, they take it as gospel. I met constituents from Honorable Pemberton Place today, fishers who did not even go to fish today, because they have been catching so much, and the market is not able to absorb. Tell me, Defoe got some parley said, Mr. Defoe, I did not go today because yesterday we caught 15 tuna. There are many of us that didn't go. The market is saturated. And I say that to say, Mr. Speaker, we have put in place and we have made, and the honorable member for Grand Bay here, who is the minister responsible for trade, we have given Dexia the management, to make Dexia the management authority for the Roseau fish marketing component. And Dexia in itself now going to have that responsibility because we have all the facilities that is required, Mr. Speaker. And I say now to these people, and even in an apologetic way, that we ought not to even have this glut. We should have been a little more step forward. But I say, we learn. We learn. We admit, we learn, we understand, and we learn. So in the coming days, Mr. Speaker, we're going to see major action of Dexia going to take all of these fish these fishers have, okay, from their hands, and do not put the burden of marketing on them. So let them focus on production. Let us fill all of the three major freezers that we have at the Roseau Fisheries Complex with an added capacity of over more than 40 tons storage capacity, Mr. Speaker. And that is food security. So God forbid something happens. We have enough fish that we can give the hospital some, can go to some. But that is just event something happened. But the idea is that, Mr. Speaker, we have seen in Dominica a growing accommodation and hospitality industry that will quickly absorb that fish as soon as the glut stops. So I have told Lexia, have courage, trust in what I have told you, listen to me, take all the people fish. Just as we did for the plantain, Mr. Speaker, take the fish. I have been to this place, I have worked in this place, I have governed it, I have filled all of the freezers there before, and in 1 month, all the fish is gone. And let us pay the fishers and let them fish, let them make the money when the fish is there, because the fish is not always there, Mr. Speaker. The dynamics of farming on land and the sea are quite different. So when it is there, let them make money, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, going further in the fisheries industry, we have things coming for the fishers. So it is not just about what we have now. A lot of investments are coming, because you hear about that export, you hear about Dexia, but we have to equip our people, our sites, in terms of their readiness, in terms to be able to meet food safety, hygiene, and SPS standards, sanitary and phytosanitary standards, Mr. Speaker. Because the markets we are penetrating is going to ask us, what measures do you have in place for food safety? And we need to respond, we need to show them, and we need to know that when they come to visit and do an audit from time to time, that they are satisfied. And this is what this investment is about. The investment is not about because it's my constituency, we're just doing something there. Everything has a meaning to it, because we haven't got that money to waste, Mr. Speaker, to just do something for doing something's sake. Everything is measured, everything is intentional, everything is strategic. So we'll begin with Quad Z, Mr. Speaker, Sufferance Quad Z, that we will invest in a slipway, because as you know, there is very limited land space, and fishers now own very expensive boat. The average investment of a boat, Mr. Speaker, most people may not know, that fishers use is $70,000 to $100,000. So people seeing fishers then figure, oh, he's a little man. I'm driving a bus, they buy online $40,000, $30,000 and thinking, and we're watching these people as bigger men than a fisherman that have a piece of asset there, but you're not seeing it because it's on the sea. The average investment, Mr. Speaker, $70,000 to $100,000. Most of them are in the bank. And the reason why you don't hear about them, because, Mr. Speaker, you never hear a bank take a boat. Tell me, Mr. Speaker, have you ever heard a bank? I already hear about bank take people land for planting agriculture. But in my 20-something years in the delivery sector, guys going and take the 100-something thousand. I've never heard a bank take a boat or take an engine. Because which boat and engine you see in any pull up by any bank? Because the investment, Mr. Speaker, is a prudent investment if you work well. And I have worked well with these individuals for many years. And that's why today they are my friends. From Capuchin to Kashaku. And the Honorable Pemberton always says so. Because that's why I must go and campaign in Sufferance Quad Z, Mr. Speaker. If they don't listen to her, they'll listen to me. I must go Portsmouth. I must go Collyhoe. I must go Beosh. Anywhere I can go, even Salisbury and Marigot, Mr. Speaker. I can go. Okay? Because it is just not a job. You have to care about people's development. And I have seen these people develop under my tenure when I have worked with them, hands in hand. And Mr. Speaker, I'll go to the extra mile and tell you, I send loans for many of them, Mr. Speaker. Again, the advice of many people. Mr. Speaker, maybe the last one, Matthew, for the last person I signed. Nobody knows. Maybe my wife hear that now. But this is the confidence that you have in people. And this is what is giving a helping hand to this person. And I've been proud to do so. And once it's the right person, I'll do it all over again. These are not family members, but these are people I have the confidence in. And because I can show you I have the confidence in you, then you will develop that respect and confidence, Mr. Speaker. So people know that very well. Mr. Speaker, I can go on and on, 2 or 3 hours, which I promised that I was going to do. But I need to switch gear and perhaps address my people in the Pititsavan constituency, Mr. Speaker. Lovely people, wonderful people. It's a large geographic space. Let me start first with our intervention for these people. And I'll start with the difficult one. The Pititsavan crossing.
5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Defoe be given 15 more minutes.
Second, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
It has, hold on. The eyes have to have it. Yeah. It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Minister be given an additional 10 minutes. Those in favor? 15, sorry. 15 minutes. You see my mind on 10. 15 minutes, yes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Honorable Minister, you are given an additional 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I will make use of this 15 minutes, Mr. Speaker, and not ask for more. Mr. Speaker, I said I was crossing to the constituency, but I must mention, because I touched on some and not all, because Honorable from the Roseau North would not forgive me. Major interventions are going to go in this fiscal year in Fonkole. We're totally going to remodel the space, make it more conducive to vending, add amenities such as washroom, again, to meet standards, and, Honorable Speaker, provide them with an ice machine. Now, people will say, why, if Roseau have a major facility, why you want people to sell things? Mr. Speaker, I always say, and I believe in community things, that you cannot change people's culture and tradition. The most we can do is create the enabling environment to improve what they are doing, but not take it out from them. If people are accustomed to stopping by the road in Fonkole, let them do so, but let them get a much better service from the fishers in a much more hygienic and friendly area. So that is what we're creating down there. In Bioche, we are rehabilitating the locker room facility, and also this community will receive additional amenities, which I did not even tell them about. I don't know if they know that we are giving each of these sites, in addition to the infrastructure work, an ice machine, coolers, and those sort of amenities that are highly used by fishers and required for safekeeping of fish and ice. Each of these, and then we go to Dubla, where we will do again major investment in infrastructure there in terms of their locker room buildings, office buildings for the fishers to operate, and so on. But I will want to say in Newtown, Mr. Speaker, it bothers me every time, because I've given the commitment last year to the honorable member from Roseau South about permanently creating a covering and an aesthetic and hygienic environment where we have people create. And I commend her for doing the initiative of creating the platform, Mr. Speaker. But we will put on her a resilient roofing structure on this facility, in addition to other amenities, so that the fishers can vend fish in a very the safe will be safe for consumers, but the amenities for the fishers will improve what they are doing and have the place in a much more hygienic manner, Mr. Speaker. And in my own constituency, we will also do upgrades at the Stoke fish landing site, Mr. Speaker. We will pave the area. We will enhance the slipway there. We will put lights, and we will make the area much more aesthetic. Because what we want in this site is not just a place where boats come, but it is somewhere people can go, wait for fish, and perhaps while they're waiting for fish, somebody, the area is nice enough that somebody can have fish selling that is freshly caught, be it steamed, be it fried, or whatever, and also that they can sit and wait comfortably and wait for the boat to come in. So there are multiple objectives in the intervention that we are doing, and I hope I have not left anyone out. But in addition to that, we have Maho, Mr. Speaker. And major works will be done for Maho for multiple means. One, we have a small grant, and the other one, we are partnering again with the project under the PIU, under the ministry, to create 2 interventions. We'll be fixing the jetty, we'll enhancing the slipway, we're creating washroom facilities, we're creating vending stall in Mahu, and in Sansovere we will work on the slipway to protect the investment of the fishers when they haul in their boats, Mr. Speaker, and also additional equipment such as ice machines and so on and so forth. So we are really creating what we call, in terms of the ice sector, redundancy, because we have the major facilities, but when we have peak demand, they struggle to keep production. So we are providing the smaller fishing associations and cooperatives with the capacity to provide their own ice. When the fish is low and they can get ice at a cheaper rate in Roseau, then that's fine. But when the fish is really in high abundance and they need the additional ice, they have the means to do so. So that is resilience and that is redundancy, Mr. Speaker, in the system. Because ice is very valuable and as important as fuel in the fishing sector. So as I go back to the Pittsburgh constituency, Mr. Speaker, I want to dive straight into, because of limited time, into the crossing. Much talk about crossing in Pittsburgh and then into Daly, Mr. Speaker. And everybody, whenever they say they want to ask for something, the intention is that you will never do it. But from the time that you do it, they say, oh shit, what am I going to say now? And that is what happened to them, Mr. Speaker, when they saw we move on creating the crossing. And they now want to use it, I said 20 days. But Honorable Senator Paris is there, the man is an engineer. The man tell me to break down that column, take 2 days. I'll go and say, Senator Paris tell me to break down the column, make 2 days. So engineers, qualified engineers and architects said, this job will take 20 days. So I said, it will take 20 days. There is nothing wrong with that, Mr. Speaker. However, there is a caveat. I did say, and they should find it, that you have force majeure. You have unforeseen circumstances. Equipment can break down. So the 20 days in the event that nothing goes wrong. But you live in a world where anything is possible. So the excavator broke down, Mr. Speaker. For weeks, it's a massive excavator. P7 is far away. The contractor which is doing the job has a major job on the East Coast Road. So sometimes for 2 weeks, it's not possible to bring a replacement. But I can assure you, as the Honorable from the Daplin constituency said, we have a commitment that in the coming days, in the week, we are going to get full mobilization back on the site to complete it. Okay? Full mobilization to complete it. And I'm hoping by when schools open in September, this is my hope, that the children of the Lapland constituency and Dailies can sleep for an extra hour in their bed, Mr. Speaker, so that they don't have to wake up so 4 o'clock in the morning, which is what I've been informed, to go to school, because this route can cut their traveling time by 30 minutes. Mr. Speaker, the Shotwell Road is almost complete. Mr. Speaker, again, because of the issues of climate change and inclement weather, we had to have an extension, several landslides, and that is God, I wish I had another hour. Mr. Speaker, that is what we talk about, climate change impacts and how costly it is to do things here. This should have been completed 6 months ago, but we had to put more money because the heavy rains caused a lot of the things they put to wash away. The heavy rains caused major landslides that were unforeseen, Mr. Speaker. And we had to have an extension. We had to put more money. It was supposed to be around 5.5 or 6. Then it had to come to 9 because all now major retaining walls have to be done. And that is the reality that we have, Mr. Speaker. We go back to, Mr. Speaker, the Lubia to Granby Road, Mr. Speaker. I will not take the steam of the Ministry of Finance because the contract has not been signed, but we are hoping that this is going to be done within the next week or 2, and at this time they will make announcements. I'll not say much on that, but I know everything is almost in place for this road. The total project package from the CDB on the UK fund is 179, but I don't know exactly how much it will cost. but I know it's over. I know it's over 100 million, Mr. Speaker. And you can imagine now, the P7 constituency will almost become like the Roseau Valley. Everybody will be employed, unlike in Wesley, Mr. Speaker. And that is the hope. In addition to that, we have the Chinese school, funded school being built with the Ministry of Education, Mr. Speaker. This school is going full speed ahead. I stop and watch it every single day, as if I have never seen it. That is the level of interest I have. And but the amazement I also have, because I always see a whole new column every time I pass, and I wonder when them fellas make that thing there, because I watch it every day. So it is going full speed ahead. We have a number of young individuals employed. I've been promised by the project manager that the number of residents from the Bellevue area will increase as the scale of the project. Mr. Speaker, also will have additional jobs for security services, and a number of young individuals from the constituency have been engaged. So in every aspect, there are jobs. In sports, Mr. Speaker, through the Ministry of Sports, we are very grateful that the playing field in Bellevue is now lighted. Because of the works at the school, we had to put some soil on the playing field still. But now they are now removing the soil to backfill. Okay, so everything is in place here. The registration for the electricity at Dominica and so on, everything is in place. So we now have lights at the Bellevue playing field. And this was at the request of a number of young individuals at Bellevue playing football, playing cricket. They also have a certified coach with DFA, as Judah Corrier, working with the young individuals. We have lots of sport talents in that area, Mr. Speaker. Even in my own community where I'm from in Fonseca, we have our own cricket league. So we're going to have our football league. And what we do, even if it's in one locality, but we extend team membership to the entire constituency. So we have a league, Baffin Point Cricket League or Football League. Baffin Point is Bagatelle, Fonseca, Point Carrie, that area. But still, we have recruit members from Dubic, recruit members from Pichelin. We have an entire team for P7 and Bellevue. So that is how we do it, Mr. Speaker. There is so much to say. Mr. Speaker, as soon as the hurricane was over, we had major blockage of the Storefish landing site. Tremendous amount of money. But within days, Mr. Speaker, not allowing the fisher to bear any hardship by they not being able to apply their trade and gain a livelihood, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable Grant, I call unto him, and with immediate action, he asked them to go and unblock, regardless the cost of the landing site in store for the fishers. So all of these are things that we are doing, Mr. Speaker. We do not put people's livelihood behind. We send a whole excavator from Fonseca, Mr. Speaker. I know Fonseca is not just there. Just to remove a big stone that was bothering a lady in a river because she had traumatic experiences of before of what the river can do by their home. And a big stone rolling it just the other day. And again, what I can say for Honorable Grant, I say for the to give the lady a peace of mind, please, and we went and removed it. So, in addition to major things, Mr. Speaker, I address to people small concerns on a daily basis. Things that I cannot talk about, because these are personal things. That is not my style. I do not talk about personal intervention. Never, ever. I don't put it on Facebook. If you don't want to say what I do for you, to your family, that is up to you. Medical business, funeral business, your social business, your personal business. If you broke, if you need medicine, nobody will ever know what you and I discuss. Nobody will ever know what I do for you. So I'm not even going to talk about these things. Because when people talk about what you do in your constituency, they're looking for bricks and mortar. Right. But not knowing that on a daily basis, the amount that it takes from you. And I will do it all over again, Mr. Speaker. I'll do it all over again. Roland just visit me home from time to time. Honorable Cozy have come. I'm looking for members to come. And it's the merriest time you can have because I live free, Mr. Speaker. Because I'm from. There's nothing you can say about me to bother me. That is why I couldn't care less. Who say what? Who they say what? Who posts what? That is not for me. It's about Cliff, Mr. Speaker. I know you know it, by Dubic Cliff. When I take the corner there, Rose will be in my back. Rose will be in my back. Yeah. You say something, no. So, well, I have one purpose. I have one purpose. To serve as long as I can, as long as I have agreed to, as long as I have the ability to, as long as the position entrusted to me to serve the constituents or the P7 constituency. Period. And I couldn't care less. Nothing else nobody say. And my second job, my ministerial portfolio, to do it to the best of my ability. And that's it. My life is simple, case closed. Case closed, Mr. Speaker. So on that, I want to close the case. I want to close the case, Mr. Speaker, because I will not finish. And I've heard everybody congratulating, but I would say she's a friend, she's a sort of the community, and I want to give my own personal, because everybody take my shine, but sometimes best is last, to congratulate Ms. Marva Williams on assuming the role of CEO at Discover Dominica. Mr. Speaker, I know her well, I know her mother well, my good friend, and she's from the community of Pishley, and it's time that we have people from our place assume such position to brighten up. Again, I want to not end by bigging up the Ecstasy Band, Mr. Speaker, wonderful people from the constituency. As you see, they are just putting out a number of their own original music, one of the best compa band in Dominica, and there's only two bands I know in Dominica playing recreational music now, is Ecstasy and Groovers, Mr. Speaker. So I wanted that to be recognized, Mr. Speaker, and the best for last, the interns under the National Employment Program, cleanup and beautification, caregivers, my wonderful supervisors, Connie Charles, Janet, Julia Bruno. These people are family to me, Mr. Speaker. I say the thing, they get it done. They need something from me, they get it done. The NAP officer around me, Mr. Speaker, you want gas, I'll buy the gas. You want the rope finish, I'll buy the rope. Work doesn't stop. The head of the quarter go, I'll go and buy one. These quarters stop working, I will fix it. That is just who I am. I don't ask somebody that honorable, I don't follow me because you get broke. You understand? But this is who I am. The work will go on, and Mr. Speaker, my reward will come from somewhere. That I know for sure. That I know for sure. My reward will come from somewhere. Good night to my colleague. Good night to the people of the Peace and Constitution have been listening. And to my many people who are hoping to hear from me, Mr. Speaker. They're from all over Dominica. I suspect I'll choose to run somewhere else next time. And I can make the cut. Because I have a lot of people who care about me, a lot of people who pray for me, and I meet them every day, Mr. Speaker. Once again, this is a budget to go forward, a budget for the people, and a budget that will enable us to attain what it is that we want to attain for this dynamic Dominica, Mr. Speaker.